Hello and welcome back. So now we're going to turn our attention to chefs. So chefs are basically the users in our app. They create recipes, they like or dislike recipes, they browse recipes, they basically perform all the actions in the app. So for such actions like creating a new recipe and like liking a recipe, we want to ensure that they're registered to use the app. We don't want just anyone browsing through on the site and entering recipes, updating other people's recipes, and the like. Plus, there will be no way to track which recipe got created by which chef unless the chef or the user is logged in. So we're going to spec out what we want to accomplish for chefs, like a rough sketch. What we're talking about basically is building an authentication system for our app. We want only logged in chefs to perform certain actions. So let's go ahead and spec this out. So this is going to be for chefs. What we have already, okay? So if you remember, we have already built the chef model and added validations. Then we also have the chef's table with columns, chef name, and email. This we have already done. Now let's talk about what we need to do. We're going to add passwords to the chef's table. So chefs can be authenticated and logged in. Then for the logging in feature, we'll use email as login credentials since email is unique. Multiple chefs can have the same name, but the email will be unique, so we'll use email for login. Then we'll add the ability to register new chefs to use the app. Then ability to display chef's profile. Ability to list chefs using the app. List all chefs basically. Ability for chefs to log in and log out of the app. Then restrict actions like create recipe, edit recipe, and like feature to logged in chefs only. And also restricting edit of recipes by chefs who created the recipes. Okay, so that's a rough sketch of what we want this to look like. So before we get started, if you want to read up about it, we'll use, for the authentication system, we'll use has secure password. Okay, this is what Rails provides by default for building our authentication system. So why are we not using a prepackaged gem like Devise? Well, for one, it's very easy to build our own authentication system using has secure password. And if we build it from scratch, we know how to modify the capabilities to our liking for what we need in the app. You'll basically know exactly what's going on with your code. After that, if you want to use Devise or any other authentication system, you'll be able to make that choice. Another thing is when you start using complex prepackaged gems, basically you don't really know everything that's going on with it. Plus, your ability to modify it really depends on what the creators of that gem provide for you. You'll have to kind of work in those boundaries instead of creating your own boundaries. And since it's fairly easy to put together our own system using has secure password, we're just going to do that. Plus, you also find out how easy it is to modify the app's behavior using what we build. Now, in preparation, I'd like you to read about has secure password. So just Google it. Google Rails has secure password. It'll bring you to this page. And this is literally it. There's a way to turn off validations and add your own, and then some methods here that it provides. And this is literally it, right? So how does it work? So it uses this hashing algorithm called bcrypt, and it creates a one-way hash of the password string, and it stores it in a field in the database. And that field is called password digest. We're going to create that field and add it to our chefs table. So bcrypt also uses something called salt and works it into the algorithm while saving the digest. And then when the user or the chef basically enters their password at any point in the application, that is basically hashed again using the same bcrypt algorithm, and that the hashed version of that password that's entered is compared to what exists in the database in the password digest field. And if that string that's produced is the same, then we have an authenticated user, right? So we use this over here, this method, user.authenticate, and then you just provide the password. And if it's the correct password, then it returns the user object. If it's the incorrect password, then it just returns false. Okay? So that's about as much as I wanted to talk about it, and it's time to get started, which we'll do in the next lesson. So I'll see you there.